What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel as you come in and check out the content. And with that being said, I want to speak on this Sophie Cunningham, Bria Hartley situation, right? And I know that a lot of people think that Bria Hartley, a lot of people think that Bria Hartley did this on purpose. But the thing I want to speak about is not just that, but Sophie Cunningham, I think a lot of people appreciate the way Sophie Cunningham has handled this situation, right? Because she could have came out and threw Bria Hartley under the bus. Because a lot of people they think that Bria Hartley did this on purpose. So she could have came out and said, "Yeah, that Bria Hartley is a dirty player," and I'm not, even if she didn't cover for Bria Hartley and say that she don't think that Bria Hartley did this intentionally, she could have said, it's really hard for me to tell, you know, and because of Bria Hartley's her past, if she would have said that, she don't think Bria Hartley would have had done this on purpose, then Bria Hartley probably would be in a lot more trouble than than what she really was. And so, but what I'm gonna do is I'm going to play what one commenter said about Bria Hartley and the whole situation, and then I'm gonna give my take on why I think Sophie Cunningham didn't throw Bria Hartley under the bus like a lot of people probably thought that she should have.
Are growing concerns that veteran guard Bria Hartley intentionally took out Sophie Cunningham, who's out for the rest of the season with a torn MCL. First off, look at this play. Bria Hartley clips Sophie, sends her down, and then she smiles. That's what set everybody off. If this was just a tough basketball play, fine. But the fact that she smiled after, it seems intentional. But let's be real. This isn't the first time Bria's been in the middle of some drama. She's been in fights before. She has that reputation, and she even liked a post celebrating her being that player. And now there are fans that are calling for her to get kicked out of the league. That's how serious people are taking this. Now I want to hear from you guys. Was this intentional or just a rough basketball play? There are growing concerns that
All right,
veteran
so
guard.
all right, so there you hear, like, that's one fan who thinks that Bria Hartley, it was intentional, right? But I think that Sophie Cunningham not really throwing her under the bus. One reason why I believe that Sophie Cunningham didn't throw Bria Hartley under the bus is because I think Sophie Cunningham is trying to help protect the image of the league. Like the WNBA is getting the reputation of being a league full of like dirty players. Like you have some players in there who really play dirty, um, eye gouging, grabbing of the hair, like hip checking and stuff. And this is like, and a lot of people who are new to the WNBA are not really used to seeing that type of physical play, and so I think Sophie Cunningham and maybe somebody, spoke to Sophie Cunningham about it. And I think the WNBA is going to really try to clean some of this up. And so if Sophie Cunningham would have said, well, yeah, that's a dirty play. Bria Hartley is a I think she's a dirty player, then that would have went towards not making the league look good. So I think the WNBA wants to get ahead of these type of plays. They want to get a hold of these type of players who people think are dirty players, and they just want to weed them out themselves, right? Which I mean that's their strategy, and I think it's not a bad strategy. But strategy. Sophie Cunningham went on her podcast and said that even her mother called her, right, and said that like that it looked like a dirty play. Like what did this girl intentionally hurt you? It looked like this girl intentionally hurt you. But Sophie Cunningham, she vouched for the girl. She vouched for what's her name, Bria, and said that no, she knew Bria and she know that Bria wouldn't do anything like that. But it's hard. It was hard to really look at that tape and say that it was a mistake, especially like what the commenter just said. Like when she smiled, like if you have a friendship with somebody and you see that you accidentally hurt them, you're not gonna smile like that. I watched I watched the Las Vegas Aces play, I think the Atlanta Dream, and Asia Wilson is close with the point guard, one of the point guards on the Atlanta Dream team, and she knocked her down, right? And the young lady stayed down for a long time, and Asia Wilson went over there, to see if she was okay, because she ran into a pick, the young lady fell, and Asia Wilson went back to her to make sure she was okay. And when she got up, she patted her on the head as if to say, you tough, we all good. And the young lady who got knocked down, she patted Asia Wilson on the back because the announcer said that they were close. And I didn't know until the announcer brought it up. But that's the kind of reaction, you want from somebody who is not trying to intentionally hurt you, or who didn't mean to like give a hard foul or anything like that. Everybody understands like a hard basketball foul, but people don't want, I mean, if they're your friend and y'all close, that's the type of reaction I would have wanted to see from Bria Hartley towards Sophie Cunningham. And so that leads me to believe that Sophie Cunningham is not only covering for Bria Hartley, but she's covering for the WNBA, because the WNBA has a image problem when it comes to these hard fouls, these dirty plays that some of these young ladies are getting away with right now. And I think the WNBA want to be able to iron this out themselves. They want to be able to, to change the image, right? And I do think that the WNBA are going to give some of these young ladies the opportunity to right their wrongs, or to change the way that they play, which you can't. You I think it's good. It's commendable that the WNBA wants to iron this out themselves and straighten the image out. I think that probably like within the next year or so, I think a lot of these, especially by next season, I think a lot of these young ladies are going to be getting fines, especially if the, like, once the money go up and these young ladies start making more money, and now you're talking about fine. When the money go up, the fines are going to go up. So it'll no longer be like $75 for a flagrant foul. You start going into people's pockets for thousands of dollars, then that will change. It will change the response that you get from people. Like 75 to $100, you fouling people, and a flagrant foul. That's not really. It's not going to do anything. But once they get that money, these young ladies are not going to want to be able to have to give that money back to the league. And I think it'll be a good thing for these fines to go up, because you just can't. It's not a good look for, to run into somebody's leg and smile. Go back and look at that film or that footage of the young lady. Bria Hartley fell, and she was looking towards Sophie Cunningham. She was looking towards Sophie Cunningham, and she smiled. And up until that point, like when I first saw the play, I was like, okay, Sophie Cunningham was coming from the weak side to help out, because whoever, that, like, her player had beat, Bria Hartley had beat her player and got past. So Sophie Cunningham was coming to help out. So I can say, all right, so it wasn't like it was a pick or something, and you knew Sophie Cunningham was coming. So it could have been incidental contact. But when you go back and you look and you see that Bria Hartley is laying on the court, looking towards Sophie Cunningham, and she had like a smile on her face, that just, to me, that, like the commenter just said, it just made gave it a whole different look. It wasn't a good look for Bria Hartley. And people who, like I said, with Sophie Cunningham, I think somebody probably spoke to her and wanted her to put a certain spin on it so it wouldn't make the league look bad. And I think that the WNBA are going to, by next season, they're going to come down harsh. It's like I said, once these young ladies start to get more money, those fines are going to go up. Then you're gonna have suspensions that's gonna play in it, and then if you're not playing now, you're suspended. On top of a fine, you're not making any game checks. That this will get ironed out really, really fast once you put that money situation into it. It'll get ironed out. And so, but yeah, man, Sophie Cunningham was like, I'm not going to snitch on her. And who knows, even if she might be like the kind of person like, I'm not going to snitch on her. It's just going to be some get back. Hopefully that's not the situation. But, sometimes that's how people handle it. Like, nah, I'm not going. Because if Sophie Cunningham says she's a dirty player and then somebody on Sophie Cunningham team was to do something to Bria Hartley, then they'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, this could be some bad blood brewing here, and there's some get back because these teams don't like each other. So that could be the spin too. We're not going to say anything. We're just going to handle it amongst ourselves. Hopefully that's not it. Hopefully somebody from the WNBA office said, well, look, just put this spin on it. We're going to iron this out and we're going to move forward. And so that's what I think really, that's why Sophie Cunningham didn't really snitch on Bria Hartley. So that's my take on it. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, don't forget to leave a comment. And with that being said, we'll check you out in the next episode. Peace.